The crystal spires of Xalantha Prime trembled as another wave of dark ships descended through the atmosphere. Ambassador Cathara pressed her delicate, six-fingered hands against the communication console, her silver eyes wide with terror. "Emergency transmission to Galactic Council Emergency Fleet," she whispered into the quantum relay, her voice barely audible over the explosions outside. "This is Xalantha Prime. We are under attack by the Void Swarm. Billions dead. Our defenses, they're gone. Please, anyone, help us." The building shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling as another city district went dark on the tactical display. Cathara's breathing was shallow, rapid. She had never experienced violence like this. None of her people had. The Xalanthans were a peaceful species, scientists, artists, philosophers. They had no weapons, no military tradition. War was a concept they studied in ancient histories, not something they ever expected to face. "Routing emergency signal through quantum network," the computer announced in its calm, artificial voice. "Signal boosted. Broadcasting on all emergency frequencies." Cathara closed her eyes, sending a prayer to the cosmic winds that anyone would hear their desperate call. The Galactic Council's emergency fleet was their only hope. Surely the Altarians with their energy shields, or the Nexari, with their phase weapons, could stop this nightmare. She didn't know that her distress signal, amplified by desperation and quantum interference, would take an unexpected path through the galaxy's communication network. She didn't know it would. Reach Earth. Chapter 1. The wrong reception captain Sarah Chen was 3 cups of coffee into her night shift aboard the UES Retribution when the alarms started screaming. The bridge of the human dreadnought erupted in controlled chaos as displays flickered to life, showing incoming data streams that shouldn't exist. "Captain." Lieutenant Torres spun around from the communication station, his dark eyes wide. "We're receiving an emergency transmission on quantum frequencies. But that's impossible. We don't have quantum communication technology." Sarah set down her coffee mug with deliberate care. At 42, she had served 20 years in Earth's deep space navy, and impossible things happened with alarming regularity out here in the void between stars. "Play it." The main screen flickered, and suddenly, they were looking at an alien face, delicate features, silver eyes filled with terror, skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. The bridge fell silent. "Emergency transmission to Galactic Council Emergency Fleet," the alien spoke, and somehow the universal translator built into their systems was working perfectly. "This is Xalantha Prime. We are under attack by the Void Swarm. Billions dead. Our defenses, they're gone. Please, anyone, help us." The transmission cut to static, but not before they caught glimpses of burning cities and dark ships swarming through the alien sky. "Jesus Christ," whispered Commander Jake Morrison, Sarah's XO. His weathered face had gone pale. "How many did she say were dead?" "Billions," Sarah replied quietly. She stood up, her mind already racing through possibilities. "Torres, can you trace that signal?" "Working on it, Captain." The young lieutenant's fingers flew over his console. "The quantum signature is weird. It's like it bounced through our emergency networks by accident. But I'm getting stellar coordinates. System designation. I can't pronounce this, but it's approximately 47 light-years from Earth." 47 light-years. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. These were warriors. Everyone of them. Humans who had volunteered for deep space patrol duty knowing they might never see Earth again. They had signed up to protect humanity from whatever might lurk in the darkness between stars. But this wasn't about humanity. This was about something else entirely. "Captain," said Dr. Elena Vasquez from the science station, her voice tight with excitement and concern. "If this transmission is genuine, we're looking at first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and they're under attack by something called the Void Swarm. Which means we have 2 choices," Morrison added grimly. "We can report this to Earth Command and wait for orders, which will take weeks to arrive, or we respond to a distress call," Sarah finished. She had been expecting this moment her entire career, Not first contact, but the moment when she would have to make a decision that could change everything. "What's our tactical situation?" "We're part of Deep Patrol Group 7, Morrison replied. 3 dreadnoughts, 6 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers. Full battle group loaded for bear and ready for extended operations. "And we're the closest human forces to those coordinates by several months," Torres added. "If we don't respond, nobody else will," Sarah concluded. She looked around the bridge one more time, meeting each crew member's eyes. These people trusted her judgment. More than that, they shared her values. Earth's military had been built on a simple principle: protect those who cannot protect themselves. It didn't matter if those people were human or not. "Torres, open a channel to the battle group. Priority Alpha." "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Chen to all ships. We have received a distress call from an alien civilization under attack. Billions of lives are at stake. I'm ordering the battle group to emergency jump to render assistance. Any captain who objects can file a formal protest after we save those people." "Chen out." She turned to her helmsman. "Mr. Park, plot a course for the Zalantha system. Best possible speed." "Aye, Captain." Course plotted. "All ships, this is Chen. Jump in 30 seconds. And people." She paused, looking at the alien face, still frozen on the main screen. "We're about to make history. Let's make sure it's the right kind." The stars blurred as 9 human warships jumped into hyperspace, racing toward a world they had never heard of to fight an enemy they knew nothing about. Behind them, Sarah Chen's report to Earth Command would not be transmitted for another 6 hours. By then it would be far too late to recall the battle group. Some decisions, Sarah reflected, were too important to wait for permission. Chapter 2: Misunderstandings and Measurements. The Serenity's Grace was one of the most advanced ships in the Galactic Council's emergency fleet, its crystalline hull gleaming as it dropped out of dimensional fold near the Zalantha system. Captain Veltar had responded to the distress call as quickly as possible, bringing with him a force of 12 Council ships, the largest emergency response in recent memory. "By the eternal void," whispered his sensor officer, a tall Nexari with glowing blue skin. "Captain, the readings from Zalantha Prime, they're catastrophic." Veltar studied the tactical display with growing horror. The beautiful garden world of Zalantha Prime was burning. Dark, organic-looking ships swarmed through the system like a plague of locusts, each one the size of a council cruiser. But these weren't ships in any recognizable sense. They pulsed with malevolent life, their surfaces rippling with hungry movement. "The void swarm," he breathed. "I thought they were a myth." "Evidently not, sir," replied his tactical officer. "I'm reading massive biosignatures from those vessels. They're eating the planet's orbital infrastructure." Veltar had served in the Council emergency fleet for 30 standard years. He had seen pirates, responded to natural disasters, even dealt with the occasional rogue AI uprising. But he had never faced anything like this. The Void Swarm were creatures of legend, ancient bioships that consumed entire civilizations, growing stronger with each world they devoured. "How many of them are there?" he asked. "Over 300 large vessels, sir, and they're still arriving through some kind of organic jump gateway." The captain's blood ran cold. 300 bioships against 12 council vessels. They were peacekeepers, not warships. Their energy shields and phase weapons were designed to disable pirates and rescue civilian populations, not fight a galaxy-ending plague. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the surface." Ambassador Kethara's face appeared on the screen, but she looked different now. Older somehow. Exhausted. Behind her, other Zalanthans moved frantically, carrying wounded and trying to organize evacuations. "Council ships, thank the cosmic winds you've arrived," she said, her voice breaking with relief. "But you must be careful. These void swarm creatures, they adapt to our weapons. Our orbital defense platforms lasted only minutes before they were consumed. Ambassador, this is Captain Veltar of the Serenity's Grace. We're here to help, but I must be honest. We're severely outnumbered. I need to know everything about these attackers." Cathara's silver eyes widened as she processed what he was saying. Outnumbered, but you're the Council Emergency Fleet. Surely you have enough ships to— Ma'am, I have 12 vessels. Sensors indicate over 300 enemy bioships. The silence that followed was deafening. Veltar watched as hope died in the ambassadors, eyes replaced by despair. 12 ships, she whispered. Against all of that? Before Veltar could respond, his tactical officer suddenly straightened. Captain, I'm detecting new hyperspace signatures. Large ones, multiple contacts jumping in system. The swarm reinforcements? Veltar asked, his heart sinking. No, sir. These are different. Unknown configuration. They're not void swarm bioships. On the main display, space began to ripple. Then with flashes of blue-white energy, 9 ships dropped out of hyperspace. But these weren't the graceful crystalline vessels of the Council fleet. These were angular, brutal-looking things, all armor plating and weapon arrays. They looked less like spaceships and more like flying fortresses. What in the void are those? Whispered the sensor officer. The lead ship was massive, easily twice the size of Veltar's flagship. Its hull was a dark gray metal, scarred with battle damage and covered in weapon systems that the Nexari had never seen before. Along its side, in alien script that their translators were struggling to decode, were the words, UES Retribution. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the unknown vessels. Put it through. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face, but not like the delicate Xylanthans. This creature had harsh features, small predatory eyes, and bore scars that spoke of violence survived. When it spoke, its voice was rough, commanding. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship. Retribution. We received a distress call from this system and are here to render assistance. Please identify yourself. Veltar stared at the alien face in shock. These weren't Council species. He had never seen anything like them in all his years of service. This is Captain Veltar of the Galactic Council Emergency Fleet. What are you? We're humans, the alien, Sarah Chen, replied simply. And we're here to help. What's the tactical situation? Humans? Veltar had never heard the word before. We have 12 ships facing over 300 void swarm bioships. The situation is hopeless. Sarah Chen's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Something cold and predatory. 300 hostiles. Copy that. What are their capabilities? They adapt to energy weapons. They consume starships and grow stronger. They've already destroyed most of the orbital defenses. Veltar found himself explaining details to these strangers, as if they were military allies, though he wasn't sure why. Understood. Can you get us a tactical link to your systems? Yes, I can establish a data connection. Do it. We're going to need real-time intelligence sharing. Sarah Chen looked off-screen for a moment, apparently giving orders to her crew. Captain Veltar, I need you to do something for me. What is it? I need you to get your ships back, way back. Put some distance between yourselves and the enemy fleet. Veltar felt a surge of indignation. Captain Chen, we may be outgunned, but we don't abandon civilians. The Xylanthan refugees— We're not abandoning anyone, Sarah Chen interrupted. And now there was something almost frightening in her voice. We're giving ourselves room to work. Trust me on this, Captain. You don't want to be close when we engage the enemy. The transmission cut out, leaving Veltar staring at a blank screen. Around him, his bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Sir? His tactical officer said quietly. Should we withdraw as they suggested? Veltar looked at the tactical display. 9 human ships against 300 void swarm bioships. It was madness. These humans, whoever they were going to get themselves killed and probably doom the entire system in the process. But something about the way Sarah Chen had spoken— there had been no fear in her voice, no desperation, just cold, professional calculation. Sir? The tactical officer pressed. Tactical officer. Do as they asked, Veltar said finally. Withdraw to a safe distance and record everything. If these humans are about to sacrifice themselves, The least we can do is bear witness. As the council ships pulled back, Veltar watched the 9 human vessels advance toward an enemy force that outnumbered them 30-1. Whatever these humans were, they were either the bravest species he had ever encountered, or the most foolish. He was about to find out which. Chapter 3. What Humans Do. Best, the bioships of the Void Swarm moved like a school of predatory fish through the void, their organic hulls pulsing with malevolent hunger. They had detected the new arrivals, small metal vessels that reeked of technology and life. Fresh prey to consume and add to their ever-growing mass. The lead bioship, a creature the size of a city, extended sensory tendrils toward the approaching human fleet. Its ancient intelligence, evolved over millions of years of consuming civilizations, analyzed the threat. 9 vessels, crude metal construction, primitive energy signatures. These would be easy prey. Aboard the UES, Retribution, Captain Sarah. Chen watched the enemy formation with the practiced eye of a warrior. Her bridge was a study in controlled tension, every station manned by professionals who had trained their entire lives for moments like this. Tactical analysis, Mr. Morrison. Commander. Morrison pulled up the sensor data on his screen, his scarred face grim. Bioships, Captain. Never seen anything like them. They're organic. Living creatures that somehow function as spacecraft. Energy signatures are off the charts. Weapons? Unknown. But whatever they used to take out the orbital platforms was devastatingly effective. Sarah nodded, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. 40 years of human warfare had taught them one crucial lesson. When facing an unknown enemy, hit them hard and fast before they could adapt. Dr. Vasquez, what do we know about biological systems? The ship's science officer looked up from her, Console, her dark eyes bright with the intensity that came from solving complex problems under pressure. Biological systems have advantages, Captain. They can adapt, heal, evolve, but they also have weaknesses. They need energy to maintain complex functions. They can be poisoned. They can be traumatized. And they can be killed, Sarah added quietly. Mr. Park, what's our weapons status? All weapons online, Captain. Fusion torpedoes armed and ready, plasma cannons charged, kinetic penetrators loaded with depleted uranium cores. Sarah allowed herself a small, cold smile. These Void Swarm creatures might have been the terror of this galaxy, but they had never faced humans before. They had never encountered a species that had spent its entire evolutionary history learning new and creative ways to kill things. Open a channel to the battle group. Channel open, Captain. All ships, this is Chen. We're about to engage an unknown biological enemy force. Remember your training. These things may be alive, but they're trying to kill innocent people. That makes them fair game. She paused, looking at the swarm of enemy ships growing larger on the display. Admiral Huang's first rule of xenobiology. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Let's prove the old man right. Attack formation Alpha. Weapons free. On my mark. The human battle group spread out into a complex 3-dimensional formation that would have been beautiful if it weren't so deadly. 3 dreadnoughts formed the core, their massive hulls bristling with enough firepower to sterilize a planet. 6 heavy cruisers took flanking positions, their plasma cannons already beginning to glow with building energy. 12 destroyers spread out in a protective screen, their missile tubes loaded with fusion warheads. Sir, Torres called from the communication station, the council ships are asking what our intentions are. Tell them to watch and learn, Sarah replied, and tell them to be ready to pick up survivors if this goes badly. The first bioship detected their approach and responded with what could only be described as a roar, a subsonic vibration that resonated through space itself. Other bioships began to converge on the human formation, their organic hulls rippling with excitement at the prospect of fresh prey. 2,000 kilometers and closing, Morrison reported. Enemy formation is chaotic. No apparent tactical discipline. They're predators, Sarah said, understanding flooding through her. They're used to hunting prey that runs, They've never encountered prey that hunts back. 1,500 kilometers. They're accelerating. Wait for it. 1,000 kilometers. Captain, the lead bioship is opening what looks like a mouth, energy building inside. Now we see what they've got. All ships, evasive maneuvers. The lead bioship's maw opened wider than a city block, revealing rows of crystalline teeth that crackled with energy. A beam of pure destruction lanced out. The same weapon that had shattered Xalantha Prime's orbital defenses. The UES Retribution rolled to port, the energy beam missing by mere meters. Sarah felt the heat wash over her ship's hull even through the armor plating. Interesting, she said calmly. Energy weapon, organic targeting system, limited field of fire. She turned to her weapons officer. Mr. Park, target that big bastard's mouth with a full spread of fusion torpedoes. Let's see how well it digests nuclear fire. Firing! 6 fusion torpedoes streaked across space, their drives painting brilliant lines of light against the void. The lead bioship tried to evade, but its massive bulk worked against it. The warheads detonated in sequence along its hull, each explosion equivalent to a small star going nova. When the light faded, the bioship was still there, but it was hurt. Sections of its hull were blackened and torn, leaking fluids that crystallized in the vacuum. And for the first time in its million-year existence, it felt something alien. Fear. Direct hits, Morrison reported. Significant damage to the target. All ships concentrate fire on the damaged vessel. Pour it on. The human battle group opened up with everything they had. Plasma cannons turned sections of the bioship's hull into superheated vapor. Kinetic penetrators punched through its organic armor like bullets through flesh. Fusion torpedoes detonated in carefully coordinated patterns, each explosion weakening the creature's structure. The bioship tried to adapt, tried to heal, tried to evolve defenses against these strange new weapons. But humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of destruction. For every adaptation the creature made, they had 3 new ways to hurt it. "Sir," Torres called out excitedly. "The thing is, it's dying." Indeed, the massive bioship was convulsing, its hull rupturing in multiple places. The malevolent intelligence that had consumed worlds was fading, overwhelmed by damage it couldn't repair fast enough. With a final shudder, the lead bioship went dark. Aboard the Serenities. Grace! Captain Veltar stared at his tactical display in shock. The humans had just killed a void swarm bioship. These creatures were supposed to be invincible, adaptive, unstoppable. "Sir," his sensor officer whispered, "the other bioships, they're retreating." It was true. The remaining void swarm vessels, faced with the death of their leader, were pulling back from the human formation. Some were already jumping away through their organic gateways. "Impossible," Veltar breathed. "The void swarm doesn't retreat. They consume everything in their path." On his communication screen, Sarah Chen's scarred face appeared again. But now she was smiling, a predatory expression that sent chills down Veltar's spine. "Captain Veltar, we've neutralized the immediate threat, but there are still over 200 hostiles in the system. Request permission to continue engagement." "Permission?" Veltar stammered. You just killed a void swarm bioship. How is that possible?" Sarah's smile widened. "Captain, my species has been at war for its entire existence. We fought each other, our environment, and every hostile force we've ever encountered. We've learned that everything can be killed if you just apply enough violence in the right way." She paused, looking off screen as her crew reported new contacts. "The remaining bioships are regrouping. They're going to try to overwhelm us with numbers." Sarah looked back at Veltar, and he saw something in her eyes that terrified him. Not fear, but anticipation. "Captain, I need you to coordinate the civilian evacuation. Get as many Xalanthans off that planet as possible." "What are you going to do?" "What humans do best," Sarah Chen replied. "We're going to kill everything that's trying to hurt innocent people." The transmission cut out, leaving Veltar staring at the tactical display as 9 human ships advanced toward an enemy force that still outnumbered them 20-1. He was beginning to understand that humans might be the most dangerous species he had ever encountered. The question was, were they dangerous to everyone or just to those who threatened innocence? He was about to find out. Chapter 4. The Deathworld Doctrine Admiral Kethara crouched in the ruins of what had once been Zelantha Prime's capital city, watching the sky burn with impossible light. The human ships were engaged in a battle that defied everything she understood about warfare. Energy beams and explosions painted aurora across the night sky as 2 alien species fought for the fate of her world. "Ambassador," whispered Dr. Thelos, one of her few surviving advisors. "The human ships, they're not like anything in our databases. Their weapon signatures don't match any known Council technology." Kethara nodded grimly, her silver eyes reflecting the distant explosions. "Because they're not from the Council, Doctor, they're something else entirely." Through her portable communication device, she had been monitoring the tactical frequency that Captain Veltar had shared with the humans. What she heard there chilled her to her very core. UES. Hermes, this is Retribution. Target the cluster bioships with nuclear mines. Set proximity detonation. Retribution, this is Hermes. Deploying nuclear minefield. Recommend all ships clear blast radius. Copy. Hermes. Vengeance. Defiance. Concentrate plasma fire on the larger bioships. Aim for what look like sensory organs. Roger. Retribution. Plasma cannons locked and firing. The casual way these humans discussed weapons that could sterilize continents was deeply disturbing. But what was more disturbing was how effective they were. "Ambassador," Dr. Thelos said quietly, "I've been analyzing the human weapon signatures. Their technology is primitive compared to Council standards. Crude fusion weapons, basic plasma technology, simple kinetic penetrators, but they're using them with a tactical sophistication I've never seen. Every shot is calculated for maximum damage. Every weapon deployment is designed to cause the most possible harm to living tissue." The doctor's voice was shaking. "Ambassador, I don't think these humans are explorers or scientists. I think they're warriors." As if to emphasize his point, another massive explosion bloomed in the night sky as a bioship died under concentrated human fire. The Void Swarm, which had seemed unstoppable just hours ago, was being systematically destroyed by creatures they had never encountered before. High above the planet, Captain Sarah Chen studied the tactical display with professional satisfaction. Her battle group had destroyed 47 bioships in the past 2 hours, with minimal damage to their own vessels. The key was understanding that these weren't ships in the traditional sense. They were living creatures that could be hurt, frightened, and killed. "Status report, Mr. Morrison. 136 confirmed kills, Captain. Enemy force down to approximately 160 vessels. We've sustained minor damage to 3 ships, nothing that affects combat effectiveness. Casualties? 12 wounded, no fatalities. Medical reports that all injuries are treatable." Sarah nodded. These were acceptable losses for an engagement of this magnitude. In human military doctrine, a force ratio of 18-1 against an unknown enemy would normally be considered suicide. But the Void Swarm had made a crucial error. They had never faced a species that had evolved specifically to kill things. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez called from her science station, "I'm detecting something interesting about the bioship behavior patterns. They're not adapting as quickly as they should be." "Explain." "Biological adaptation requires time and energy. But we're hitting them too hard and too fast. They're spending all their resources just trying to stay alive so they can't evolve countermeasures." Vasquez looked up from her readings, excitement in her voice. "Captain, I think we've stumbled onto the key to defeating them. Overwhelming violence applied faster than they can adapt to it." Sarah smiled coldly. "Dr. Vasquez, you've just described the fundamental principle of human warfare." "Sir," Torres interrupted from communications. "Priority message from Captain Veltar." "Put him through." The Galactic Council captain appeared on screen, his alien features tight with what Sarah was learning to recognize as stress. Captain Chen, we've completed preliminary evacuation of the major population centers, but I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Your species, humans, where are you from? What is your relationship to the Galactic Council? Sarah considered how to answer. The truth was that humans had never heard of the Galactic Council until today. Earth was apparently isolated from whatever galactic civilization existed out here, but there would be time for diplomatic discussions later. We're from a world called Earth, Captain. We're not part of your council, but we received the distress call and responded. That's what we do. What you do? Veltar looked confused. You respond to distress calls from alien species you've never met? Captain, my species has a saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. Sarah paused as another bioship died under the guns of her battle group. We heard someone calling for help. We came to help. It's that simple. But you're fighting a war against impossible odds. Your technology is primitive compared to council standards. How are you winning? Sarah's expression grew serious. Captain Veltar, may I ask you something? What kind of world do your people come from? Zalantha Prime is a garden world. Perfect climate, abundant resources, peaceful evolution. We've never known scarcity or conflict. And the other council species? Similar. The galaxy is vast, Captain Chen. There are plenty of resources for everyone. War is uncommon. Sarah nodded, understanding flooding through her. Captain, humans come from what we call a death world. Harsh climate, predators at every level of the food chain, constant scarcity and competition. For millions of years we've had to fight just to survive another day. She gestured to the tactical display, where human ships continued their systematic destruction of the bioship fleet. You see primitive technology. We see tools that have been tested in constant warfare for thousands of years. You see impossible odds. We see a target-rich environment. Sarah's voice grew harder. Captain, the Void Swarm are apex predators. They've never encountered a species more dangerous than they are. More dangerous, Veltar whispered. Captain, humans wiped out every large predator on our homeworld by the time we developed agriculture. We turned our entire planet into a weapon during our world wars. We split the atom and immediately used it to kill our enemies. Sarah looked directly into the camera. The Void Swarm may be the terror of your galaxy, but they've never faced a species that considers warfare an art form. The transmission was interrupted by an urgent alert from Morrison. Captain, the remaining bioships are massing for what looks like a final assault. They're forming up in a sphere formation around their largest vessel. Sarah turned to her tactical display. The remaining Void Swarm bioships had indeed formed a defensive sphere around a massive creature that dwarfed even their previous flagship. This new bioship was easily 10 times the size of anything they had faced. Its hull covered in what looked like armor plates grown from its own flesh. That's their queen, Dr. Vasquez breathed. Or king or central intelligence. The other bioships are protecting it. Sir, Park reported from weapons. That thing is huge. Our standard weapons might not be effective against something that size. Ray studied the formation for a long moment, her tactical mind racing through possibilities. The Void Swarm had made their final move, all their remaining forces concentrated around their most important asset. It was a defensive formation designed to protect their queen while she attempted to escape. It was also exactly the target profile that human military doctrine was designed to exploit. Mr. Morrison, signaled the battle group. Formation Delta 7. We're going to try something that's either brilliant or completely insane. Formation Delta 7, aye. What are your intentions, Captain? Sarah's smile was not pleasant. We're going to introduce the Void Swarm to a concept they've probably never encountered before. Which is mutual assured destruction. Epilogue. First Contact Protocols. 3 days after the Battle of Zalantha Prime, as it would come to be known in Galactic Council records, Ambassador Cathara stood in the docking bay of the UES Retribution. The human dreadnought was unlike any ship she had ever seen. all angular lines and functional brutality, designed by a species that expected to fight for its life at any moment. Captain Sarah Chen met her at the airlock, and Kethara was struck, again by how different humans were from any species in the Council. Where Xylanthans were delicate and graceful, humans were compact and efficient. Where Council species had evolved in peace, humans bore the marks of constant struggle. "Ambassador," Sarah said, extending her hand in what Kethara had learned was a human greeting. "Welcome aboard, Captain Chen." Kethara grasped the offered hand, noting the calluses and scars that spoke of a life lived in preparation for violence. "I wanted to thank you personally. Your species saved mine." "We did what anyone should do," Sarah replied simply. "You called for help. We came." They walked through the ship's corridors, past crew members who nodded respectfully to their captain. Kethara noticed that every human she saw bore similar marks: scars, calluses, the lean build of a species accustomed to physical challenges. Even the ship's doctor had what looked like an old knife wound on her forearm. "Captain," Kethara said carefully, "I've been reviewing the battle recordings with Captain Veltar. Your tactical decisions, they were brilliant, but also terrifying. That final maneuver, where you rammed your flagship directly into the void, Swarm Queen while detonating your entire nuclear arsenal. The Broken Arrow Protocol," Sarah confirmed. "We've used variations of it throughout our history. Sometimes the most effective way to eliminate a threat is to sacrifice yourself to destroy it. But you survived. We got lucky. The emergency pods ejected just before impact." Sarah paused at an observation deck looking out at the stars. "Ambassador, I need to ask you something. This Galactic Council, how many species are members?" "Over 3,000, representing billions of worlds. And in all that time, none of you ever encountered the Void Swarm?" Kethara's silver eyes grew distant. "There were stories, ancient warnings passed down from the first civilizations to achieve spaceflight, but we thought they were myths. The galaxy is vast, Captain. Most species never venture far from their home systems." "Because you don't need to," Sarah observed. "Abundant resources, peaceful evolution, no external threats. You've built a paradise out here. And yet when a real threat appeared, we were helpless." Kethara looked at the human captain with something approaching awe. "Your species, though, you were ready. How?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment, watching the stars. "Ambassador, humans have a concept we call the warrior's burden. It means that those capable of violence have a responsibility to protect those who aren't. Your people are scientists, artists, philosophers. You've built something beautiful out here among the stars. But you're warriors. By necessity, not choice. We've seen what happens when evil goes unopposed." Sarah turned to face the ambassador. "The Void Swarm would have consumed your entire civilization. Then they would have moved on to the next and the next until nothing was left but empty space. And now? Now they know there's a species out here that will fight back, that will hunt them down if they threaten innocence." Sarah's expression grew hard. "The survivors will carry that message to others of their kind." Kethara felt a chill run through her. "You think there are more of them?" "Oh, I'm certain of it. Predator species don't evolve in isolation. There are probably dozens of Void Swarm fleets out there, consuming civilizations that can't fight back." Sarah looked back at the stars. "But they've never encountered humans before. What will you do now?" Kethara asked, though part of her wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Sarah Chen's smile was cold and predatory. "We're going to do what humans have always done when we encounter a threat to innocent people. We're going to hunt them down and eliminate them. All of them. Every last one." Sarah's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Ambassador, your people sent a distress call to the wrong species. You were looking for peacekeepers, but you got something else entirely." "What did we get?" Sarah looked out at the stars one more time, and when she spoke, Her voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of human warfare. You got humanity. And now the galaxy will never be the same. 6 months later, Captain Veltar sat in his ready room aboard the Serenity's Grace, reviewing reports that would have been impossible to believe before the Battle of Xylantha Prime. The humans had been busy. Computer Display Sector 7 Alpha Tactical Summary. The holographic display showed a star map marked with dozens of red indicators. Each one represented a void swarm fleet that had been located and destroyed by human battle groups. The humans had taken their technology, studied the bioship's navigation patterns, and systematically hunted down every void swarm concentration within 50 light-years of known civilized space. Computer casualty reports. Human military casualties. 437 wounded, 12 killed in action. Void swarm casualties. Estimated complete species extinction within this galactic arm. Veltar leaned back in his chair, trying to process what he was reading. In 6 months, these humans had accomplished what the Galactic Council had considered impossible. They had completely eliminated the void swarm threat from known space, but they had done it with a ruthless efficiency that terrified every Council species. "Sir," his communications officer called through the intercom, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Central Command." "Put it through." The holographic display shifted to show a new human face, older than Sarah Chen, with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. Admiral Rebecca Hayes, commander of Earth's newly formed Galactic Defense Fleet. "Captain Veltar, I'm Admiral Hayes. I believe you've met some of our people." "Admiral." "Yes, Captain Chen and her battle group saved my world. We owe humanity a debt we can never repay." Hayes' expression softened slightly. "Captain, humanity doesn't want payment. We want partnership. The Galactic Council represents something we've never seen before, a truly peaceful interstellar civilization. That's worth protecting." "But at what cost?" "The reports I've been reading. Your species has destroyed entire ecosystems where the void swarm had taken root. You've sterilized planets, Admiral. We've eliminated a threat that would have consumed this entire galaxy," Hayes replied firmly. "The void swarm were a plague, Captain. And sometimes the only cure for a plague is fire." Veltar was quiet for a moment, considering. "Admiral, may I ask you something honestly?" "Of course." "Your species. Are we safe from you? The Council species, I mean. You've demonstrated that you can destroy anything that opposes you. How do we know you won't turn that power against us?" Admiral Hayes was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice carried a weight that Veltar was learning to recognize in human voices, the weight of absolute moral certainty. "Captain, humans have a saying. We sleep safely at night, because rough men stand ready to do violence on our behalf. Your Council species are the dreamers, the builders, the creators. You represent the best of what civilization can become." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "We're the rough men, Captain. We're the ones who stand in the darkness so that you can live in the light." The void swarm learned what happens when predators threaten the innocent. Any other species that makes the same mistake will learn the same lesson. The transmission ended, leaving Veltar alone with his thoughts. Outside his viewport, he could see human patrol ships moving through the system, angular, brutal-looking vessels that had become the guardians of galactic peace. The irony wasn't lost on him. The most peaceful civilization in galactic history was now protected by the most dangerous species anyone had ever encountered. But as he watched those patrol ships disappear into hyperspace, heading out to guard the dark spaces between stars, Veltar found himself sleeping better than he had in months. The nightmares had stopped. In the darkness between worlds, something stirred. Ancient sensors detected the electromagnetic signatures of a thriving civilization, billions of souls living in blissful ignorance of the hunger that approached from the void. The void swarm. Hive mind had lost many children to the strange metal creatures, but it was vast and patient. Other fleets existed. Other spawn swam through the darkness between galaxies. This sector might be lost, but there were always more worlds to consume. The new bioships were different from their predecessors. They had been grown with the genetic memory of their fallen siblings, carrying within their organic hulls the knowledge of how the metal creatures fought. They had adapted, evolved, learned. This time would be different. The hive mind reached out, with senses older than most solar systems, touching the edges of civilized space. So many worlds, so many species, so much life to consume and incorporate into the ever-growing swarm. But as its sensors swept across the galaxy, they detected something unexpected. The electromagnetic signatures were wrong. Where there should have been peaceful civilian communications, there were military frequencies. Where there should have been soft research stations, there were weapons platforms. And everywhere, like a cancer spreading through the galaxy, were the angular metal ships of the species that had hurt it so badly. The humans. They weren't just defending their own territory anymore. They had spread throughout the galaxy, establishing bases, building fleets, training other species in the art of warfare. Worse, they seemed to be actively hunting for void swarm signatures, seeking out every hidden nest and spawning ground. For the first time in its million-year existence, the hive mind felt something it had never experienced before. Uncertainty. These humans weren't prey. They were predators. And they had apparently decided that the void swarm was their prey. The ancient intelligence pondered this development as its fleets moved through the void. The humans had won their first encounter through surprise and superior tactics. But the swarm was adaptive. It could evolve. It could learn. The question was, could it learn fast enough to survive what was coming? In the depths of space, the hunt continued. But for the first time in galactic history, it wasn't entirely clear who was hunting whom. And in a small blue world at the edge of the spiral arm, Admiral Hayes stood before the United Earth Council and made a simple report. Phase 1 is complete. We've eliminated the immediate void swarm threat and established defensive positions throughout Council space. Phase 2 begins immediately. What is Phase 2, Admiral? Asked the Secretary General. Hayes's smile was cold and professional. We go hunting. The void swarm made the mistake of threatening innocent people. Now we show them what humans do to species that prey on the weak. She turned to the star map behind her, where red indicators marked suspected void swarm positions throughout the galaxy. Every last one. The age of galactic peace was over. But perhaps for the first time in cosmic history, the predators had reason to fear the dark, because humanity had arrived. And they were very, very good at their job. The Yusao and